All right, so welcome everyone to the Breakout EDU Game Masters chat, where you're using a brand new tool called Blab. I heard about it from a friend this weekend and excited to test it out. Really trying to figure out the best way to include all members of the community in the conversation. So we have a chat bar over here on the right. I don't know if it's being recorded. Does anybody know if that's also recorded? Who knows?
I don't see the chat portion.
Anybody else have the chat access to it? Katrina, do you have access to the chat on the right there?
Yes.
Cool. Do you see it?
I see all mentions and questions.
Okay, yeah, so it's here. Yeah, so if you click all, you should be able to see it. That's the chat bar. It's the same thing under the all there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm on it. Yeah.
All right. So, let's go ahead and dive in. There was a ton of interest for this made-up program that we're trying to figure out what it should be. We put that form out there saying, hey, we need some awesome educators to review the games that are going to be coming in, and had more than 50 people submit. So I'm blown away by it. And I was thinking originally that we'd, quote unquote, designate or hire a few to do that, but wanting to figure out how to rethink it a little bit in an open way. So just to kind of lay the landscape out for everyone, we're kicking off an effort to get more games into the store. Yes, a couple days ago we launched the incentive program. We haven't really publicized it too widely except for on the community and on the blog. But the idea is to provide incentives for teachers to submit games. So the first level, if you submit your first game, we'll send you a t-shirt. The second level, it's a $50 gift card to Amazon or Visa, or we're also thinking about having an option for some sort of nicer Breakout swag, but we haven't decided what that is. The third is another Breakout box or a $100 gift card. So, but the cool thing is, in addition to that, we're not taking ownership of the game. It's still your game. You're just putting it on a site, and you can do with it as you see fit. Or just trying to provide some additional incentives out there. At the same time, though, we want to also bring the community in to review games. Up until this point, it's been just myself and a few others helping out on the review side, and that's not going to scale. We're going to be a really small, overwhelmed group of people here pretty soon. So trying to think about what that looks like. So to give you kind of an idea of what a game review is, somebody goes onto the website, pulls out the game form. It's a template that people use, and they fill it out, and then they submit it. And then it's got like 4 or 5 parts. One part's a video describing the game. The second part's the instructions, the step-by-step instructions, the list of the supplies. And then it gets submitted, and it's in the Google Doc form. And we want to have some people like you guys review that to decide if it's something that belongs in the store. So kind of being that next step, saying like, hey, I've tested this game out, or I've looked at the instructions, it makes sense, I give it my thumbs up. And then it would be posted in the store by me or somebody else on the team. But we don't really know, what that the time commitment is. We've never really done it. So what I'm thinking is developing a spreadsheet where people can go in and, a game gets posted, and then you can kind of claim that you're going to be reviewing it. And then once the review is finished, it gets published. So kind of opening it up to everybody so it happens quicker, right? So not just saying it's Nick and Mason and the only 3 people that can review games, and that might slow things down. Whereas keeping it open, public spreadsheet, and saying, all right, hey, this person's going to go ahead and review that game. So my question for you guys, as a discussion topic, and people are here in the chat as well, is like, what would be a good incentive or compensation or something like that, or your chat around like what that would look like as far as your time to read through and potentially try these games? So I guess we should, while you're thinking about that, so keep thinking. I want to introduce the 3 people that are here on the chat. So we'll start with my right. I don't know if it's also your right, Katrina, and then we'll go down to Mason, and then we'll hear from Nick. So tell us, who you are, what you do, where you're from, and so Katrina, take it away.
Sure. Katrina, and Director of Innovation for a school in North Georgia, and also do some consulting, speaking, that kind of stuff. but new to Breakout EDU, and just took an extreme interest in it, and have had a blast just watching all the posts and everything go up on Facebook. So, so just happy to be here, and was excited actually to use a new tool tonight. So, so this is great.
Mason?
I'm a 6th grade teacher in Irvine, California. This is my 2nd year teaching. I'm just trying to push myself to fail forward basically in all my lessons, and just trying to be like the tip of the spear for my school, just trying to do as many cool things as possible. So I have like Lego robots, and we're doing Mystery Skype, and I just thought this would be like another thing that I could be the crash dummy for in my area. And I'm trying to spread it within Irvine now, and I'm trying to challenge people at other schools to design a game for, I'm trying to do the ancient civilizations for 6th grade. So I'm writing one right now for Mesopotamia. And then I was thinking about, well, I'm going to continue to develop my own games, but I'm also trying to get other people on board in my area.
And also, Mason, you designed at least a draft of a game around the Revolution, right? The American Revolution.
Oh yeah, I designed an American Revolution game that's pretty complicated. That's a good game.
You got to figure out how to get that into the store there. So, all right, Nick, from Down Under, take it away.
Thanks, James. Hi, everybody. So, I'm pretty new to the Breakout EDU sort of, hemisphere sort of thing. So, Kim Sutton and I have just introduced Breakout EDU to Australia just last week, and we've run about 16 sessions since then, which is pretty cool. And so I'm just trying to learn as much as I can. I'm trying to bring people on board, and whether that's through people trying to review games or create the games, which we've already heard that some people down here are for our curriculum. I'm trying to learn as much as I can and pass that information out. And I know Kim's actually on this chat, so I might actually jump out soon so that she can jump in. But it's really, really great to connect with you all, guys.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's test out how that works. Let's see if we can swap you for Kim. That'll be fun. All right.
Yeah, I'll hop out too if somebody else wants to jump in.
I know Heather's there in the chat too. Love to hear from Heather as well. So let's try it.
Oh yeah, click me out if someone else wants to hop in.
There we go. Sweet. Perfect. That's fun. All right. Hey, Kim and Heather. So I'd love to hear from Miss Sun first. Let's hear from you.
Kim here. I'm also from Australia, and we've just been running Breakout Down Under. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah. So we've actually connected with a lot of people who are interested in doing it down here. At the moment, I'm trying my best to write some to fit into our Australian curriculum. But yeah, that's about it. You can ask me questions if you want.
And it's early in the morning there for you, right? It's about 9:30.
Yep, hence the coffee. But it's school holidays, so it's great.
So it looks like you watch less school though, or is it how we get home?
No, it's school holidays. So I'm at home.
Oh, okay, good. Heather, welcome.
Hey, thank you. What's up? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
Yep.
This is fantastic.
Well, I'm sitting on the floor outside the bathroom because my daughter's in the tub. So, always multitasking. So I am a teacher specialist for instructional technology just for social studies in the state of Maryland. And I love that there's a lot of social studies games already out there. So I'll be doing my first game with teachers in about a week and a half. So I'm really excited about that. And I decided to use a game that already exists to get the flow and try to get that down. At the same time, I'm also working on a game that, wow, the muse is just not with me. I'm actually hoping that after the teachers experience the first game with me, that I'll get them to collaborate and contribute and try and figure out where we might go with this game idea I have.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a need for either like game design support groups or, really trying to bridge people who are, connect people who are, new to this process and trying to figure it out. Obviously, we're all very new to the whole experience, but, for example, in the Facebook group, we had that chat around the one person, I forgot who it was, posted about wanting to do a game around To Kill a Mockingbird. And then, for people in the community jumped in right away and says, I'm interested. So it's really, the hope here is that the game design incentives, as well as the review process, will get a lot of those things that are either somewhere between 10 and 80% done across the line. So trying to advertise that more. And then also one of the things that I need to do a better job of is on the website itself, communicating that process, going from like, hey, you signed up for the first time. How do you get connected to the community? How do you get your kit? And how do you get access to the store? Because I get like 3 or 4 emails a day being like, can you send me the password, or how do I buy the password? And it's like, no, we only lock it because we don't want people looking it up while they're playing the games. And so trying to better communicate that flow. My question then for the group, and we have 10 people watching and 3 of us here in the chat, so feel free to put it in the chat or just share out loud. Like, we're going to test out the side on the game incentive side, but the review side, it's kind of more nebulous for me. Like, what do you guys think would be kind of a good equivalent for that process? Should they just be reading it, or should they be testing it? Like, what are you guys thinking about all of that stuff?
Well, I'm almost embarrassed to say how long it took me by myself to break out of the game that I want to do with teachers in a week and a half. So I don't, like time compensation, I don't know that that's going to really factor in. And, we're teachers, we're like a gift card,
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of exciting. And honestly, my main intention for joining up with a game master reviewer is to learn more about how people are putting this process together. I don't know. It took me, I'll tell you, it took me a day and a half. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed.
To design a game or to facilitate?
No, to break out of one by myself.
Which game were you trying?
I'm not telling you.
Oh, no, it's totally fine.
No, it's Mark's Decoding the War. The end,
Yeah.
I could not get the pattern at the end. So I had to set it down and go onto Facebook game group.
That's pretty cool. There's no way I would never break out of a room by myself. I would be stuck. I wanted to
me,
say,
myself, and I.
I think part of the review process would be identifying what grade level or age the game is designed for, and then making sure that the clues and puzzles are a challenge but not over the top for the age range.
And the number of people in a group too. That's a nebulous thing.
Yeah.
We had that when we were trialing it in Australia. There were a lot of questions that the teachers were asking. In fact, like, what age range do you do this for? How many people in a group? I mean, James did suggest we limit to 15. And so then we did that. It was pretty good. We also had 10 in a group, which was really good. But then at one point we had 20. And that just, that opened up at the end when we were discussing that.
20 teachers is a handful.
It's really hard with 20 in the group. Yeah, but it was really funny about the whole thing as well that we were telling them, we actually had some high school students who were helpers along at a GAF summit, and they were saying, well, there was one girl in one of the groups going, we did time warp, and a little bit of our clue got a bit blurry. So they were getting all into this side going, no, it's this. And, theta means this, and theta is, X times the power of hyperbola or something ridiculous like that. And this kid she would have been in high school, went, if this is aimed for high school, I don't think my peers could do it. So it's really funny as teachers testing the game, because we do just we overanalyze everything. And when we noticed when the kids did it in high school, they broke out in, was it 15 minutes of one of the games, because they didn't overanalyze, and they just sort of, yeah. So we noticed that was really different in having the teachers, say, review the games, and then the children, because there are 2 different ways to look at it. In saying that, I think I take after Mark Hammonds in the fact that I like seeing people get frustrated. So it was really good to see the teachers get frustrated when they couldn't get something. That I said, hey, guys, this. But then it was all about reminding.
It's so true. With the game Dr. Johnson, I've probably facilitated that 40 times at this point. And there's only been one group who like completely didn't even get close to breaking out. And it was a group of 3 principals, 4 Google employees, and like 6 teachers or something. And it was just because like of the communication and the overthinking, right? And so I was playing time work with some teachers this weekend, and they got to the ink and knot clue, right? The one where the knots are tied. And for some reason, somebody knew a little bit more about the Inca Kipu knots or the strings, and went into like the powers of 10 and multiplication, the length of the rope, and it's like down the rat hole they go. And I think that's part of the fun, but it's also, that people are going to have a frustrating experience sometimes when that happens. And I think one of the things that I like to message to folks when that happens is, when you send a worksheet out to 30 students, you have no idea who's frustrated because they all sit there with their pencil. Like some of you can maybe see that some haven't written their name on it yet. But during a breakout game, it makes that experience very transparent. You can see when the students are engaging or not and stuff. And so, I like to make it very clear that this isn't a panacea. This isn't going to like fix education. It's not get one breakout box and your school is now good forever, right? Hopefully this is just being presented as one additional tool that a teacher could turn to if they want to do something with their class. This isn't like, okay, we're all going to design a breakout school and this is how it's going to happen every day, kids. Like for 50 minutes, you got to get into this box or else you are going to fail your test or whatever. I don't know. What other stuff do you guys think are needs right there? Because I'm not hearing any like specific ideas on the game review process, though I do want to continue to dig into that. We got a ton of viewers, 15 viewers, which is a ton for us. And I would love to kind of hear you guys' thoughts on like other needs or areas of weakness that we can try to address here.
Is there going to be like a rubric or a template or anything like that to evaluate with?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, kind of maybe just like the 4 questions that you should answer, like making sure that it's can be legible and the instructions make sense, as well as, like, does it kind of, I don't want to get too detailed, right? I want to kind of trust that this is a community thing. And the other big missing element on the website, which I wanted to address last week, is there's no good way of reviewing the games. As far as like, this game has like 4 out of 5 stars. One person in our community, Patty Duncan, had a great idea for posting all the pictures of the games into an album on the Facebook group, and then people could put the reviews in line there and describe it until we get something on the site. But I think, yeah, to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know if there should be a rubric or not. And also, there's a free spot if somebody wants to pop in and join the conversation.
There's not a way we could do maybe a Google form or something where it's just electronic data and that everyone has access to the data or something like that. As far as 5 stars, 4 stars, something like that.
Yeah, that could work. As far as the reviewing, is that what you're saying? Like they go through and they give it 5 stars and people can go and click to review the sheet. Hey, Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, how you doing, James? So I am Michael Jaber, and I am from Sheboygan, Wisconsin. I am the instructional technology coordinator for the district. So I am glad to be here, and I love this Breakout EDU total movement. It's awesome.
Awesome. Have you played one yet in your school?
I have not. I just got mine a couple days ago, and I just started setting it up. And I did some laminating of the sheets and things like that. And so I'm just getting everything set up, and I'm going to try to knock one out next week with a PD group.
I should totally laminate some of those papers. I won't tell you how many times I've printed out the hieroglyphics clue because they've written on it.
Exactly.
I don't know why I've never thought about laminating it. That's embarrassing. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of. I thought I gotta laminate this because I know it's gonna get some wear and tear. So
I think that's just going back to what Heather was chiming in on, and Mike Mason was on the reviews and then of the games themselves. One of the things that Mark Hammonds threw to me was like, should we give them, have it be some sort of seal where like one of the game reviewers just kind of signed off on it, or because a couple of things that we can do here. one, we should definitely make sure that the whole process is open, and that even if you're not the person reviewing the game, you can access all of the files and see the games that are kind of in the pipeline, right? You can say like, oh, this is a game that somebody's created for middle school English. It's not done or approved yet, but you can log in and look at it and, you know, even try it out, even if you're not the person, quote unquote, reviewing it. I'm not, you know, especially early on here, you know, what my hope is in the Game Master program is just so that we can provide some sort of level of insurance that these games are something that belong in classrooms, you know, like making sure they're, one, appropriate, two, you know, it's written well, the person's obviously taken time to put it together, you know, and three, like it logically works. So whether you're doing it mentally or actually physically, you're, you know, plotting the game out. So like when, you know, before I ran Dr. Johnson the first time, it was just a couple mental reviews saying, hey, you know, Michael Wacker, can you take a look at this? Like, follow the steps. Does it make sense? Or that map, for example, where it had the maps and the colors. I sent it to somebody and said, hey, you know, what would you think the clue to this would be? You know, and I think the Facebook group could end up being a place like that too, where somebody would post a clue saying, if you saw this, what would you think the answer would be? Right? So it's just elements of the game. Like if I pasted a link to the Google map and said, there's arrows on the wall, like what would you think the answer to this would be? You know, or does the through my eyes link something that you would think about, you know, something like that.
And another thing that I consider too, when I was looking through the different games to pick one out for a first time experience is, you know, like the Mighty Pen has a ton of puzzles, as opposed to like the Decoding the War doesn't have as many. You might spend more time on the puzzles in Decoding the War. But, you know, I don't know if that's a beginner, intermediate, advanced kind of rating on them as well. But there's certain ones that seemed easier to approach than others.
Yeah, that's also a good idea. Do you want to add, I mean, do we add a line on the forum that says like, you know, how many puzzles are there, right? You know, like 12 puzzles, you know, recommended 10 people. I don't know, you know, it's like, it's really interesting to try to strike that balance between like how much information or versus simplicity in the process, you know, because, you know, we're all basically, most of you have either played or gotten involved, you know, now or, you know, sometime recently, and, you know, we haven't been doing it that much longer either. And so we, you know, to be very open and honest, you know, we're also trying to figure out, you know, what's the best way. And thankfully, we have this awesome community to be able to run ideas by and try to figure this out. The other thing, I know we want to go back to revisit some of the other things that I'm thinking about adding to the site is a way for people to publish where they're going to facilitate the game. You know, so like thinking about somebody at like an ed camp who's going to go to an ed camp and run Breakout, or thinking summit, or somebody going to do it somewhere. So keeping it open so you can say, hey, I'm going to be at Ed Camp Los Angeles. I'm going to be running Breakouts. Like, you know, breakout.com, something like that. Oh, we're playing a cuteness game. Come here, Jacob. We're playing a cute game here. Oh. Oh, we got two friends here now. I'm at my mom's house. So yeah, what else? I mean, what are some of the other issues or things that you guys would like to chime in about? So I'm hearing a need kind of a game support group for people who are trying to design the games. We're really just trying to better facilitate that process of saying like, hey guys, you know, open call like this, especially, you know, if it was almost just like a standing thing where these 2 times a week people can chime in and jump in and ask questions about their games, and, you know, kind of like office hours, if you will. I don't know. I also don't want to overcomplicate it. So anybody else in the chat have questions or want to shoot them over? So there's one comment here saying, love to see some type of game debrief form or questions. That's something that came up in the last Hangout too. It is like wanting to take that next step and saying, here are the 10 questions that people ask, you know, to facilitate after people complete a breakout. I think that's a really, really good idea. That Game Wizard guy named Scott, who was on our last community thing, shared a link to some questions. I just haven't taken time to put it in another format and on the site, but, you know, that's something that needs to be done. The other thing that I'm going to try to do is create a FAQ, kind of the frequently asked questions page, describing some of the stuff that people have brought up, because a lot of the same questions get asked over and over again. I don't know. What else? Mason, where are you at on the Mesopotamia game? When do we get a chance to look at the draft?
Oh, I'll post it in a few minutes. Yeah, I would love to have my stuff tested. I think the problem is just, time. I think time is obviously valuable for everyone, but it's like I posted that up there, and I wonder if anyone tested it. So it's just getting people to go out of their way to test things.
And that's what I hope this group, this process with the game review group can do. And if we throw out a little bit of incentive, being like, hey, Mason's submitted his game here. It goes into the hopper, and somebody on the spreadsheet can throw their name to it, saying I'm going to be testing it, and then they can say it's meet with you if they need to provide feedback, or just say it looks good, and then I'll take a final look and then publish it up to the site. So I think a lot of times, especially in this like social media world, like even Facebook, it just is like this river of junk going down all constantly. Some great, some not so great, and people like say, oh, I like that, and I'm very much guilty myself. But versus like the meaningful, okay, like Mason's posted this game, I'm going to take a look at it. Next week, I'm going to try it out, and then I'm going to provide him some feedback, and then we're going to get it into the store.
Do you think that as a community we could build like a index or something? So, like Mason's social studies, I would definitely be interested in stuff that he had going on, just so we can identify ourselves a little bit better within the community, and then we would know who to plug into.
Yeah, that's a great idea as far as like the profiles of, the community members, and trying to think, I think I wonder, like the thing about that is I don't want to add more tools. So I want to try to keep it simple, but I love the idea of like going to a spreadsheet or whatever and being like, okay, my social studies tribe is these folks, or my math teachers are these folks. I'll definitely write that down here and see if we can think about what that could look like. Okay.
I guess not to sound like a politician or anything, but I think teachers would probably like to see you attached a couple standards, that you think tie into a couple of the clues, throw in a couple of those common standards, and teachers will eat that type of thing up.
Yeah, I think that's something that is just super relevant. I know that the teachers in Canada are doing some like specific designing games specifically aligned to some Canadian standards. The educator in London, two of them that are designing a game specifically for this religious studies course they're posting in the standards. I think none of the American games so far have that, but looking at some of those, and it's kind of like it's this funny thing where we know we should be doing it, but there's also this subculture of like, oh, I'm not the one who's going to be the first to go all in on the standards alignment, but we know that needs to happen if this is going to scale.
I'll attach some to my Mesopotamia game before I share it. I challenge everyone out there watching to try my American Revolution or my Mesopotamia game and post an honest review. If there's something bad, let me know.
Hey, Mason, what standards would you align it with? Are you talking like C3 or a state or?
The Common Core standards. I think most states have adopted them. Am I right on that?
And then I don't know if there's a very wide adoption of the C3 framework. That's at all familiar?
I'm sure what state are you in? I'm sure it's the same
Maryland.
thing. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. James, you're more familiar with the...
I don't know. There's just so much. I think, next generation science standards, Common Core too. I don't know much about the C3 network or framework, but definitely something to look at. And that's, as far as, long-term plan, I spent quite a bit of time building the 6-month plan, which I'd be more than happy to share on a future hangout and get feedback on. But the idea, the timeline has us trying to get a new version of the website up by January. So wanting to think about, as more games come on, you're not going to be able to just scroll down a list of 100 different games. There needs to be some sort of way to search for games and, review or identify. And then I know there's a bunch of people who are developing games that may look at wanting to charge $5 for their game. I don't know what that's going to look like, but needing to set up an infrastructure for that. So, if we were going to just dream big here, thinking about something like the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, where you go in, you try to find your game, you download the files, and you have it, you go. But again, I don't know what that looks like yet. The other big exciting thing I think this group like to hear is we're working on the cardboard games, so compatible with Google Cardboard. We're waiting for this new camera to come out. The company Theta is building a brand new camera that allows you to take these 360 videos that are high definition that last up to 25 minutes or 28 minutes. So the first game, you guys have seen it there forever, called Lost Passport, is based around, these different places around the world, and the players go in and they have to look around for clues. I think what we're struggling with is just wanting to make sure it's meaningful and not, kitschy, if you will. So it's like, you're not just looking at and looking for a street address or something, but how do you weave a story into that? So that's the biggest challenge. And then I'm finally meeting with the person who designed the, what's it called? The Unlocking Shakespeare game. So I know that a lot of you have been like, what the heck, that sat there for like a month or two. So trying to like get that across the finish line, it's not ready by any means. So needing to work with them to make it Shakespeare worthy. I think that was one of my fears, is like, wow, like this game, one of the first ones submitted had the name Shakespeare on it. If there's going to be a Shakespeare game on the website, it needs to be darn good. It's not just, and otherwise people are going to be like, what the heck, like this is not good. So to working with that educator to make sure it's, helping them get it across the line. So no timeline on that, but just any other chat? So we have the Heather Shared framework here in the chat. So it's cool. I'm going to bookmark that right now. Any other questions or comments about the whole process? I know we haven't resolved anything when it comes to how we're going to do the master review, the game master review of games. So my thinking right now and pushback is we'll have the form, and either if people will go to the spreadsheet, all 50 of you, and kind of put your name next to a game if you want to be the reviewer, and then you will, whatever it be, like there's maybe 3 questions or 4 questions that you have to answer, and if it's yes to all of those, the game can go into the store. So I don't know, that's my current thinking, but I'd love to kind of hear thoughts or pushback or ask detailed questions on that.
I think you'd probably want to get maybe like a slight majority, of 2 out of 3 people, 2 out of 3 people, or 3 out of 4 or something like that, just to push the game through.
Yeah, so saying like ones that's been thumbs up by 3 people, so that may be even the way is like, because my issue is I don't want it to be the Facebook culture of 10 people just clicking the like button next to a game, and knowing that like 1 of those 10 actually read it. So just trying to using the whatever incentive there is there, which we haven't decided yet, and love your thoughts, to make it meaningful enough. I know that Wikipedia and Reddit they just, give a title to that person. So there's very few, and they're moderators or official people, who have that title, right? And that status of like being the moderator of the certain page on Wikipedia, or certified experts or whatever it is. So I want to figure out, how to strike that balance. A breakout wiki. So that's a really good idea. Is like doing a different wiki on the game. So like, yeah, I think the one thing I love about Facebook is it's so easy. We all go there. The one thing it's hard is like organizing the information. Like it frustrates me so much when I go and it's like, these are old posts that I just happen to ask a question on, rather than keeping it nice and chronological. So does anybody know if there's a way for me to go in and change the settings so that all of the stuff in the group stays chronological or anything like that? I don't think you can.
Anytime somebody posts on it, it's going to bring it up to the top.
So years from now, when people post something linked to something super old, it's just going to like bring it back up to the top and say, hey, look at that.
You need to go blog.
Yeah, so we do have the blog. I don't know if you guys have seen it at breakoutedu.com/blog. So that's where, we post the My Breakout EDU campaign is there. The game incentive program is there. So really trying to keep those big posts there.
And if you did a community collaborative blog, then it would be chronological, as
Yeah,
opposed to the community Facebook.
That's what I was driving today thinking is like, by all means, if anybody here is doing one of these and wants to kind of tell their story, like by all means, write a post and we can have somebody, I'd be more than happy to just post it to the blog. So, if you're a member of the community, feel free to reach out and let's get a blog post up there. Like I'd love to highlight your work. And we have one open spot if anybody in the chat wants to jump in and ask a question before we stand around a circle and close this group. Just kidding. All right, well, thank you guys. I think this Blab thing was a success as far as just the ease of use. I loved having the chat nearby, and we'll work the rest of this week and this weekend to kind of come up with kind of a first crack at the process for how it's going to work, and I'll share it with you guys through the blog and the newsletter and the Facebook group. So thank you, Mason, Heather, and everybody before who was on, our folks in Australia, as well as Katrina and Michael for jumping in, and everybody in the chat. Loved it, and I don't know what this video format will look like, but I will share it anyways. Thank you, and have a great rest of your week.
And review my game on Facebook.
And see Mason's game and give it meaningful feedback.
Yeah, Mason, I got a classroom for that game already, so I'll let you know for sure.
Very cool. All right.